Alright, so we're back working on the Scout here. I was able to get the rear drum off with a lot of heat and a couple good whacks with a hammer. It finally popped off. But it looks like you gotta pull the axles on here to get the or to get access to your brakes. But they look okay, and I don't think I can really afford a $90 slide hammer right now. So we did the right thing and just waved that away. But in the meantime, I figured I would look at my rear differential here, and overall she's pretty stinking clean, and there's no real wear on that gear, and there's no play in it either. Guys, get you a good angle here. So that's the gear lube that came out. It wasn't you know, clean, but it wasn't bad. So I figured, while I have this cover off, oh wait, there's that rear bumper I was telling you about. I got those welds, and there's some body damage, some rot here. You know, you gotta have a good layer of Bondo between that and your metal. So there's that to deal with. Yeah, so I don't know what they were doing with this, but this has to get, that needs to get ground and fixed and made it look at least better. Not sure on the body work, so we're just gonna ignore that we saw that. And yeah, so here we are. I'm cleaning up the cover, and I'll probably wire wheel it, paint it black like it used to be. Might get in here and wire wheel a bit, and then make it look somewhat decent when you're standing up, because nobody really looks under here anyway. I was probably going to look at taking that drive shaft off and just looking at it, but I mean, there isn't much play in it. Anyway, back to work. Alright, so this is why it is important to get manuals for your project. Parts breakdown, everything you want. International Motor Trucks. And then you need the service manual, filled with all the info you could ever want. However, I think this was like $100, and this was about $80-ish, but well worth the information for this thing, because nobody really knows what they're doing until you read the manual. Anyway, here's the rear diff here, painted, or the cover I should say. 2 coats of all-in-one here, something simple, and I can afford it. Here's our plug. Threads still look very nice, as they should. Throw that back on. Throw the drum back on. Probably put a little bit of grease on this surface. I do have Never Seas, but since this might be a little bit of a wet environment, just a little bit of grease, and that'll prevent that hub from bonding to it. And then do the same thing to the other side, and then crawl up and see what else I can do. I can do little projects that don't cost too much money, but they just cost time, and I have a lot of time right now, so hope y'all are doing good. So let's get back to work. Alright, well, I'm just dry fitting the brake drum on there. And I think instead of grease, I'm going to go with anti-seize. High temperature, high performance. This particular brand is from 1968 there. And it can withstand a temperature range from -65 to up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. The main reason I chose it, if I can get the glare off of it, is that it will not run, sag, or flow. And I don't want anything getting into the brake pads or shoes on this. So I'm going to put a very light coat of this on the back side of this just to prevent that drum from sticking. And then I'm going to pop off the passenger side and do the same thing, presuming I can get that drum off. So let's get to work again. Alright, so we got both tires back on. I went ahead and popped the other tire off. Got the drum off surprisingly easy compared to this one. And then put the anti-seize on there. This one, the axle bolt, the threads on there weren't looking so great, so I took one of my thread restore files and just, you know, gingerly went over it and cleaned it up. And I use these at work all the time at my first job. And this is the part number and all that for them. They were a little spendy, but man, they sure are handy if you gall some threads up. And there's more files under the handle here. It's just a piece of red plastic there, but these come in handy for sure. And these were a 3/4 16 thread. So anyway, both tires are on, and we got our rear differential cover installed. So I'm thinking this was definitely a farmer type deal, because I got like 3 different types of bolts bolting this thing on, and then I got like baling wire holding on the brake lines here, and that brake line just doesn't look factory to me. This one does. But the fact that this one like goes way over and then does that, you know, she's been around, but that looks nice. I haven't filled it back up with the fluid, but there is enough in there to keep everything coated. Surprisingly clean in there, compared to the, you know, the outside of it. But I'm thinking of probably dropping this thing on all fours and pushing it outside so I can actually clean my garage. But in the meantime, I'll try to do some other things. Got a grease ball under here. Anyway, let me figure out something else to do here. Hey guys, so I figured out something to do. This is the rear inspection cover for the ring gear on the clutch, and it's cracked in a couple places, so I went ahead and cleaned it up and drilled a hole at the end of the crack. That's probably the worst crack right there. And for some reason it has these slits in it, and that thickness right there is about the thickness of the ring gear, so it looks like it somehow got deformed down the way and it cut into this housing. And these two, I'm not sure if they're factory holes or not. I'll have to look into that. But I was thinking about beating this back out and then welding up these cracks here. So let me get this a little bit more clean, and then we'll whip out the little welder. Oh, and first I'm taking my little Dremel here, and I'm gonna make a little valley where I can weld here. So That big one is going to get hard to get clean, but I'll do my best here. It is just a cover, so it doesn't have to be perfect, and it'll get painted black, so a lot of mistakes will get covered up anyway. So let me get this a little bit cleaner, and then we'll do some welding. Alright, well, you can see a couple little pinprick holes there. I'll go ahead and patch that up, and then I can even smother some JB Weld over it, blend it in, and you won't even notice it's there. So I'm probably just gonna sand it the best I can and then throw a coat of paint on it and call it good, because I mean, no one's gonna see it underneath the car, so, or the Scout I should say. Anyway, let me get the other ones patched up here, and don't judge me too harshly on my welds, okay? This is just, you know, basic welding. I don't have a big fancy contraption to weld. Anyway, they're good enough for, you know, our work. Let me patch this thing up and we'll get a coat of paint on it. Alright, well, all I can say is thank goodness for JB Weld, because I kept blowing it out and I ended up making it a hell of a lot worse than it was. But with the magic of JB Weld, you cannot tell how bad it was. I got a piece of duct tape on the backside keeping everything in line. I think I'll probably leave these holes just because, I mean, I don't really know what they're for, but they're not doing any harm. Other than that, everything else is patched up. Just got to do a little bit more grinding after the JB Weld sets up. But it was one of those cases where you should have just left it alone. I'm sure you guys know what that is. But, you know, quick tip is oven cleaner works really good on degreasing stuff, as well as just ordinary Dawn soap. Cheap Dawn soap does wonders. Even hot water and Dawn soap does a good job. So that's it for now, gents. I did buy a cylinder ridge reamer, so I can get going on putting the pistons, rings, and everything in, and as well as the head-on and everything besides the cam. So thanks for watching this episode, guys, and hope you all are having a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next video. Again, shout out to Oven Cleaner. It saved me so much brushing and scraping on this front timing cover. You just spray it on, let it sit for a few minutes, and then it just melts right off of it. It's amazing. I would highly recommend picking yourself up a can if you ever need some heavy duty degreasing. And it smells great. Alright. See you guys later.